Raw Truth, Stories of Female Infidelity may contain explicit and questionable content. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are those of the individual podcaster Rebecca Adams and are not based on the advice of a licensed therapist, psychologist, or psychiatrist. Listener discretion is strongly advised. What does ponder actually mean? Well, according to the dictionary, it means think about something carefully, especially before making a decision or reaching a conclusion. Well, as you know, on the Raw Truth, Stories of Female Infidelity podcast episodes, we allow women to share their stories in a non-judgmental way about why they stepped out of their relationships. But there are so many other interesting topics that we all need to learn from and not to judge right away. So let's talk about it now. Let's ponder. Welcome to Let's Ponder on Raw Truth Stories of Female Infidelity. I hope everybody is doing well today. It is unbelievable where I live in the Pacific Northwest. We would have normally had so much rain already, and we are so dry out here. It's just been warm. It's just really, really strange. But I'm sure the rain will get here soon enough. But today when I'm recording, it's super sunny outside, blue sky, and I've got the house to myself with 5 dogs. My daughter decided to go out kayaking today, and my other half is up at his, the house that he'll be listing to sell here soon, taking care of a few things. And I just ordered tickets to go see a movie this evening and have popcorn and cinnamon and sugar pretzel bite things. I didn't realize this movie was out, but it's called Show Me the Father. And I love Christian-based type movies. And this is the Kendrick brothers. So if you've ever seen Courageous or Fireproof, these are the same family who directed this one, but it's a documentary. So I'm looking forward to it. It's a good positive type of movie from what I can see. So I think that'll be a nice evening. But you guys are not here to listen to me talk about all of that. A couple of news things I wanted to bring up. Personally, I have decided to retire from my work job outside the house. I've been in dentistry for 32 years. I started when I was in high school, believe it or not, in the fall of 1989. And with everything that's transpired over this last year, I realize life is just too darn short, and I'm blessed that I'm in a position where I don't have to work outside the house. I do have finances that are okay to take care of me. And so I gave my doctor that I work for my notice. I gave him a heart attack. I didn't have an end date, just that I wanted to be done by the end of November, but the sooner the better would be ideal. And so he is in the process of looking for all of that as far as a replacement, and I'll do some training. So if I'm lucky, maybe mid-October, I'll be done, which is good because that leads me to going out of town for a couple of days with my daughter. We're going to go to Las Vegas for a weekend. Oh my gosh, I can't believe the amount of money it's costing to go there. We went before in March of 2020, and the hotel and airfare deal was really, I want to say it was like under $800 or something like that for everything. This time for a hotel that isn't even not nearly as fancy, it's on the Strip, round trip airfare. And we aren't even getting like credits or anything like that, food credits like we did with the last one or anything. And just the airfare and hotel is about $1,800. Oh! So she is going to be in charge of buying our meals while we are there. It'll just be the two of us, and it'll be fun to get away. And then I'm coming back and having surgery. As I had talked to you guys, I've decided to have breast reduction. I've wanted it for years, and I'm in a position and have the opportunity to do it. So I am very, very thankful for that. And after that, I'll be able to just be able to focus more on you guys, the podcast. I've had a hard time with my training for my infidelity recovery coaching. I couldn't get to it when I wanted to because of the distractions with my husband's death. And then by the time I started getting back into it, they changed the entire platform, and they said, oh, we thought everybody was done or nobody was currently in the middle of the program. And so they've had it reformatted and changed on their platform, and now none of us can actually access it. As they work through that, it's just taking more time, but maybe it's a blessing in disguise, right? I'm going to be able to have more time to really get through it so that I can work with people who are dealing with infidelity in their marriage. So I'm looking forward to that, and also just sleeping and healing my own heart and soul. Some of this stuff has just caused me, all of us will deal personally with mental issues, but then add this to it with the death and all this stuff that went on afterwards. It's really affected my mental health, and it's starting to affect my physical health. And I really am not done on this earth. And so I want to make sure that I have more years down here. So I decided, yep, this is what I need to do for myself. Infidelity. Both women and men alike have found themselves in situations where they have become unfaithful to their spouse or partner. On the podcast, Raw Truth, Stories of Female Infidelity, you hear stories from women who have been unfaithful, but want to share their stories to help others in similar situations, or to help other people understand why sometimes infidelity happens. But there is still so much more. How does a man cope when he finds out that his wife, girlfriend, or partner has cheated? What are the reasons why a man chooses to cheat? Are they similar to why a woman does? Or maybe you are the other man or the other woman in a relationship. I asked her later why she didn't tell me she liked the kind of sex she had with him. She said it was novel for the first couple times, but she swore she didn't like what he was doing. I'm not sure I believed it. Why keep going back? I'm sure in hindsight she feels that way now, but I never got over the nagging doubt that she enjoyed the sex with him more than me. I also never got over the feeling that she looked back at what they did and with good memories. He was bigger than me, in better shape, younger, and the sex was new. I never got over that. Again, she swears she looks at it with disgust, but who knows? Why would she ever admit it? To hear the rest of this story and other stories like this, please visit the website Raw Truth, Stories of Female Infidelity.com and click on the Patreon link. For a $3 a month pledge, you will get access to these additional episodes, as well as early access to regularly released episodes. If you have a story that you would like to be considered for a future podcast, please email rebecca.rawtruth@gmail.com. All submissions will always be anonymous. And always remember, no judgment. So before I start today's topic of older men and younger women, I wanted to just talk about something briefly. I had a message today from a person who is a Patreon subscriber, been a great supporter, and has actually submitted a story of his own on Patreon. And he was inquiring as to, especially lately, he had noticed that a lot of my stories are being broken up into multiple episodes. And, there are a couple of reasons, and one being that the stories are getting longer. And I love that. I love that the stories are long, but I also don't like to stream a really, really long episode either. Because I think about people, you can't really listen to these hanging around the house a lot of times because of the content. Most people are tending to listen when they're on a walk or they're commuting to and from work. And so I try to keep them a little shorter so that you can listen to it without having it really stretched out over, okay, I still have 5 minutes to listen to, but my husband's home or my wife is home or whatever. And I don't want people to kind of get lost in the long episodes either. So I do split them up if they are going to be a little bit longer. So that is the main reason. He also asked if I was short on content, which I'm always looking for stories. And I know there's a lot of people out there who say, I want to send my story, but I just don't know how to do it. I just don't know what to do. And all I can say when you got that concern, just message me, shoot me an email, reach out to me, and I can help you with it. And we can take it from there. Also, like I was saying earlier, working full time, my time is tight. And I record 6 episodes a month. And, time is precious when there's not a lot of it extra to do. So maybe now that I'll be home more, it'll give me more of an opportunity to network and a little more, get more stories coming in, and maybe we can go a little bit longer here and there. But anyways, if any of you were wondering why I do split them up, that's it. And I actually have a Patreon episode coming, and it was a very long story, and it's got to be broken up into 3. Now, the Patreon episodes end up being shorter than the regular episodes because of ad content. When I put out something that has to do with my own Patreon, or if I have a sponsor, those are removed when I put them on Patreon. So those deduct 5 minutes or so from the actual run of the story. But that's what people pay for. They don't have to listen to those ads on Patreon. So that's part of their perks. But anyways, in case you guys were wondering, and the gentleman who sent this in, hi, you know who you are. And I just thought I'd bring it up. So the topic today is older men and younger women. And I know in the past we've talked about older women and younger men and why they like it. And so because of my own past, now my husband that passed away was 9 years older than me. And the gentleman that I'm seeing now is 7 years older than me. And so I tend to like older men. But I wondered, what is it with them where they are looking for a younger woman, and so I found an article on yourtango.com. It's an expert blog, and it's called Why Older Men Choose Younger Women Even When You're a Much Better Match, by Jasmine Von Hatch. She is a dating and relationship coach who specializes in communication problems, empowering women, online dating, relationships, and more. I will have the link to this article on my episode notes, so if you want to read it for yourself. But this is what she has to say. Most single women in their 30s and 40s are sick and tired of guys their age dating younger girls. How many of us can relate to being dumped by a guy who said he wasn't ready, only to find out that he proposed to someone else, someone younger, of course? So many women are fed up with guys who keep getting older but never stop dating 25-year-olds. Why do older men like younger women instead of women their own age? You would think that a 45-year-old man would want a relationship with a woman at least somewhat close in age. Wouldn't they want someone who has similar life experience, who has some maturity and a similar level of intellectual development? A lot of times, they don't seem to. In fact, research shows that, at all ages, women prefer men who are close to them in age, while for men, the ideal age for a woman remains a consistent 22 years old. At what age are men most attractive? Well, according to Dataclysm, by author and OkCupid co-founder Christian Rudder, women tend to like a man who is slightly older than them, in their 20s. And when they are in their 30s, they like a man who is a few years younger than them. However, over time, the trends in attractiveness for females decreases, starting the highest in a woman's 20s and decreasing over time. A man's attractiveness is the opposite and starts increasing over time, reaching their peak at 50 and then decreasing. Do men prefer younger women? Some men prefer younger women, and it's not because women in their 20s have firmer skin. Rather, it's because they don't have as firm opinions on things, and they have more admiration for older men. According to one study, even the claim that men, quote, naturally prefer younger women is, quote, an assertion of power cloaked in the language of evolutionary psychology. An older man probably could love a younger woman. However, their relationship will have to deal with generational differences and a gap in understanding and knowledge. With the right communication level and maturity, a relationship between an older man and a younger woman does have the possibility to thrive. What is it called when an older man likes a younger woman? Little did you know, there is actually a nickname for both a man who exclusively dates younger women and a woman who exclusively dates older men. Ever heard of a cougar? Well, a cougar is a woman who exclusively dates younger men. Much like a cougar, the word for a man who dates a younger woman is also influenced by a big cat. A manther is a term to call a man who dates younger women, and a panther is what to call a woman who dates older men. Sidetrack, I had no idea. I always just called them cradle robbers. And I say that in a joking way, because I myself, older men. Okay, many single women who are otherwise successful, beautiful, and talented find themselves passed over for younger women. Here are 8 important questions to ask yourself about your own attitude towards men and relationships. Number 1, do you love and appreciate men and their differences? 2, do you harbor resentment towards men for hurt they have caused? 3, are you afraid or cynical about relationships or marriage? 4, how do you see yourself? 5, why do you want to get married? 6, why do you like this particular man? 7, are you having fun? 8, do you feel good physically, mentally, and emotionally with or without a man? High-value men have a lot going for them and are looking for a high-value catch. Someone who will make their lives better and who is hopeful, optimistic, and has great and wonderful things ahead of them. Your attitude and energy will either lift a guy up or bring him down. Unless a man feels like his life will be better by marrying you, he will not do it. Instead, as the world is his oyster, he will opt for what is easy, the breath of fresh air a young girl who is fun and light gives. Here's one man's candid explanation why older men like dating younger women. Peter, whose name has been changed for the sake of privacy. He is a 43-year-old, highly successful divorcee who has been dating 23-year-olds since he was 36. Peter has no filters, and he will tell you exactly what he thinks, void of all emotions and social values. Quote, women in their late 20s walk around with a ticking time bomb. Every minute takes them closer to their 30s. Society tells them that having a good relationship sets the foundation of their life, and all their friends are getting married, so they walk around in their head thinking, are you the one? Are you committed? Are you going to marry me? When are you going to propose? It is a lot of pressure, and who wants that? The fun of dating is gone. They are on a mission. Plus, many of them don't even know what they want. They just want to be proposed to because it is a badge of honor. 30-year-olds have a compounded set of issues. Not only are they still in a rush to get married, but they are also often bitter. Like they've been chewed up by the dating game and are pretending to be optimistic, all the while harboring a secret hatred and delusionment of men. Deep down, many of them think men suck. They never commit, and all good men are gone or taken. Each time they meet men, they think, are you going to hurt me? Are you another loser? Are you another time waster? What are your issues? Why haven't you settled down yet? Or why did you get divorced? They are sick of dating and just want to find anyone and get this dating and marriage thing over with. To top it off, Many women in their 30s are very successful in their own right. But I want a woman, not a business colleague. I get plenty of stress and competition at work. The young ones are googly-eyed, easily impressed, fun, and free-spirited. They don't pressure me consciously or subconsciously to get married and have kids. What happened to the lighthearted fun? And again, that's a good article. He's said it the way he feels, and I know that he does have some truth in that. But anyways, this is really, really good. So, of course, as always, I reach out to people to get their thoughts. So from some of my followers and listeners, these are what they had to say about why older men and younger women. And most of these are based on their own personal experience. So the first one, and it was a little conversation I had with them. So he said, I'm 43. My Tinder match is set for 30 to 50. I like to chat and look at about 25. I asked in return, so what is it about the younger ones that you like? He said, they are attractive and sexy. And I asked, so mainly for looks, is that what you feel? And he said, I think so, but if I'm looking to date, I want at least 30. So that's 13 years his junior. And I came back and said, so when it comes to hooking up, just sex fun is what you're looking for, about 25. But if you want something serious, you want them a little closer to your age, correct? And he responded, I don't really do hookups. I will chat with a 25-year-old in a bar or store. I will watch porn with a 25-year-old-ish looking woman in them. Okay, so how I take that is when it comes to being serious, he still likes them younger, but the ones that are in their 20s, he enjoys seeing them in sexual situations, not necessarily with him, but in other avenues, I guess you could say. All right, so the next one is, my wife is 12 years younger than me, and we've been together for 18 years now. And I asked him, can you tell me more about why you chose younger? Did you always look for younger? What is the attraction, desire? Dish it, is what I said. He said, not really. Most of the women I've dated were within 5 years. One was older and she dumped me. I think it's availability. Women get shacked up earlier. Well, the good ones, for sure. And I said, so the ones closer to your age are taken? And he said, I dated a gal for 4 years and then moved away. So now I'm older. And in a city where I don't know people, and women have a biological clock too. Men don't. I think these are all pieces of a big puzzle. Plus, older guys that have money draw the younger women. I actually tried to be just friends with my wife because I thought I was too old for her. She wasn't having any of that. But for what it's worth, I worked with a girl who was making 6 figures in her 20s, and she said she could not date guys her age because when they realized she made more money than them, they would get jealous and insecure and act like idiots. Okay, that is interesting. That is. The next one commented, it depends on what I'm looking for. Some younger girls, 21 to 25 or 26, are into the, quote, daddy scene, and that can be fun. But if I'm looking for a long-term companionship, I think someone closer to my age, give or take 5 years, would be a better fit, in my humble opinion. The next one says, some men like younger women because they are easier to mentally manipulate. Because young women love affirmation of maturity. What better way to feel than for an older man to affirm it for you? I'm not speaking for myself, but this is what some dumber males, quote, talk about among themselves. Okay. Next one said, I've mostly dated younger women and am married to one 3 years my junior. I don't think it was a purposeful choice. It just worked out that way. That said, some of the most, quote, adventurous hookups in my younger years was with older women. This next one actually was a conversation between two people on my post about this. So that started off with a man who said, I used to when I was actively dating. So this is talking about being with a younger woman. He used to date younger women when he was actively dating. No kids, less issues, better sex, and less judgmental. I only wish that age hadn't kept being an issue. I would date women between 10 to 15 years younger. Obviously, none of them worked out, and sex wasn't worth my sanity looking back. Older women didn't have the energy to keep up with me sexually, and I never met a woman my age or older who was ever single. They were always in a relationship or married. And a woman commented on this and said, "You haven't had the right older woman then. Oh my God, I'm way more sexual than I was in my 20s. It's all I want, and I'm so much more comfortable with my body now. Also, I've had more practice." And I can appreciate actually her saying that, because in my 20s, I had no clue what the frickin' frack I was doing, really. I was young, I had a kid, it wasn't what it is. But now, totally different story. Anyways, his response back to her was, "Well, it's more complicated now. Before, I was stuffing myself with women when I just needed to heal. In general, I've always had more fun with younger women than those my age or older, aside from friends. I'm a bit immature personality-wise. I think I come off childish or goofy sometimes. Deep down, I am a very scary bag of broken glass, and I overcompensate." So thank you for sharing that. Let's see here. The next one says, "Women in their 20s seem to be more energetic in life and in the bedroom. No joke. My regular minimum run time for sex is about 3 hours. A lot of women my age couldn't do 1, let alone 3 without lube. And sometimes afterwards I take a 5-minute break and want to do it again. I don't even look like the type who would even have stamina like that, but I work out regularly despite being majorly overweight. I'm looking into a thyroid issue at the moment. In a lot of cases, the women I slept with were typically more physically fit looking too, and didn't care that I was incredibly out of shape at the time. I think it's a generational thing about people embracing their kinks or not body shaming, etc. Honestly, they seem to be less hung up on little things that people our age get stuck on. I used to always go for people who were just nice, but I also chased after people when I was the most alone or most lonely. I think after years of looking for substance, I just wanted just looks over emotional connections. I basically went on a 3-year bender with what I considered to be, quote, hot, and didn't care about age unless they were under 21. Most of them weren't under 25. And at the same time, I'm not sure why they would even let me pursue them or even give me signals that they were interested. I met 95% of all the women I've been with in person. I've now been single and can't even want to date anymore. I find myself ignoring advances from women. I think overall, I was just overcompensating what I think I'm supposed to be like. Coming to terms with gender dysphoria has been all too real. Having been with over 70 women total, I feel like I punished myself rather than rewarded. Wow. Thank you for sharing that. It was very personal, and I appreciate you sharing that. Okay, next person says, "Well, when you are as old as I am, there are a lot more younger women than older women available. As for me, I used to look much younger than I am. That brought the attention of women younger than me. So it sort of happened naturally. I suppose younger women might be in better physical shape, maybe. Sometimes they have more energy. Too young leads to little in common, but can still lead to some fun encounters. I never really wanted to seriously date someone a lot younger than me, more than 15 years younger. For me, it's not that complicated. Because I did look a bit younger for my entire life, women younger than me had some interest because I looked younger. So I often date people up to 15 years younger than me. It's hard to turn down sometimes when you are single and there is mutual interest." Makes sense? Okay. This one here. "If I wasn't married, I wouldn't put an age as to what I'm looking for. Men are visual, so if a woman looks young, that's all that matters. The reason why men end up with younger girls is because it's less baggage. Older women tend to have a whole entire life with them. Another man's kids, already married, several failed relationships with emotional baggage and emotional walls built up, and that's just for starters. We would love to get with more mature women, but how many mature women don't bring all the baggage with them? And I have to agree that, in my case, being 49 or whatever, even though I'm younger than the Marine, which we will get his thoughts here in just a second. Yeah, I think all of us, though, have baggage. And I know that women are more emotional than men most of the time. And so it's probably easier maybe for men to be able to separate things out, where with us as women, we are worried about everything. And yeah, there is a lot of body shaming, and I'm guilty of it as well for myself. I mean, I have to remind myself I am pushing 50 and I've had 2 children. And, as you get older, your body changes. We cannot help it. It's not like we said, oh, I think today I'm going to give myself an extra round belly just for the hell of it. No, hormones, all those things come into place. You can look at a cookie, I swear, and gain 5 fucking pounds. It's just not right. And a lot of it is that. But then we look on TV or you look on stupid ass social media, and this is what women are supposed to look like. And it's hard as a woman to say, is that really what they want? Because I can never look like that. So anyway, I can understand what he's saying, but I think all of us still do have a little bit of baggage, men included. In fact, my husband that passed away, he had a lot of baggage. He chose never to talk about it. And I didn't find out about a lot of the truth until right before he died. So he was able to bury it. And he just didn't talk about it. And in his mind, it didn't exist then because he wouldn't talk about it. He thought he could just wish things away. It's not how it works. And the gentleman that I'm seeing now, the Marine, he has a lot of baggage. I mean, we all do. And these men are in their late 50s. So they've lived a life. And I do plan on having the Marine on for an interview because he has been cheated on multiple times by his wife, second wife, girlfriends. And that'll be a story for another day. But I asked him about it because his ex-wife was, I think 15 years younger than him. And within 6 months of meeting, they got married. That was a little fast. And I had asked him, and as well as with me, 7 years, I've had more life than she did, and I know that I've had different experiences in life than she has. She has her own demons to deal with, and but anyway, he told me the reason why he liked younger women is he felt he could be kind of like I hate to say role model. I'm trying to remember the exact words, but a person that maybe his partner could look up to. Trust that this man knows more and can help them learn or whatever. And I giggled when he told me that because I'm like, dude, you might be 7 years older than me, but I've lived a hell of a life and I'm not a naive child. I know things. But of course, that is from a man's perspective, they are there to be the leader of the family, the person who brings in the money and makes the decisions and protects and takes care of the family. And us as women back then or whatever, we would have to depend on them. But things have changed a little bit. But that, again, is probably a story for another day. Anyway, when I asked my late husband why he preferred younger women, he had always been with girls that were a little younger, even in high school. I think that his wife, he had been married a couple of times, and they were all within a few years, but I was the biggest jump for him, being 9 years apart. I don't think I ever really got an answer as to why, even though I asked. some of these men say it's energy or this or that. And maybe it just helped him to feel younger. He looked younger than he was. He always looked about 10 years younger. And we would always kind of banter back and forth and confuse people because he'd call me a cougar and I'd call him a cradle robber. And we would just confuse people. It was fun. It was kind of a funny thing because he did look about 10 years younger. And at least I hope that's what it was. And it wasn't me looking 10 years older. Now that I think about it. But anyway, I never really did learn truly what it was for him. So I appreciate everybody's thoughts and opinions who sent information in. I am happy that you guys did this, and it turned out to be, I think, a pretty darn good episode in learning about why men prefer younger women. And that is it for today's episode. Next week on Raw Truth Stories of Female Infidelity, we are going to hear about Josephine. Her story was indeed a little bit longer as well, so it will be in 2 episodes. So that is the plan. You have been listening to Raw Truth Stories of Female Infidelity. Your support of the podcast is truly appreciated. Be sure to visit my website at rawtruthstoriesoffemaleinfidelity.com to access story guides, subscribe to Patreon for bonus episode of the men's side of female infidelity, and to vote for this podcast to be in the Hot 50 Countdown for Podcast Magazine. To submit your story for the show, share feedback, or if you have a Let's Ponder suggestion, please email it to rebecca.rawtruth@gmail.com or send by snail mail to Rebecca Adams, P.O. Box 821064, Vancouver, Washington 98682. Every story is always anonymous. If you listen on Apple Podcasts, please rate and review the show. Raw Truth Stories of Female Infidelity is produced and edited by Rebecca Adams. You can follow the show on Facebook at Raw Truth Stories of Female Infidelity, on Instagram at Podcast Raw Truth, and on Twitter at Raw Female. Thank you again, and be kind to one another. Be kind to yourself, and always remember, no judgment. Goodbye.